So the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, stands alone. In a recent meeting of the CARICOM heads of government, all the leaders within CARICOM decided to vote on Caribbean and Latin America maintaining a zone of peace. And the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago was the only leader within CARICOM to abstain from that vote. So this kind of reminds me of the Eric Williams back in 1962, the speech that he made, that 1 from 10 leave naught. That was when the Jamaican government decided that they don't want to be a part of the federation. This kind of reminds me of that. And if the president of Guyana, President Ali, can still acknowledge the Caribbean and Latin America as a zone of peace, what is going on with the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago? Because as I stated, if anyone should feel different about this, would be the president of Guyana. And when we talk about the Caribbean and Latin America as a zone of peace, I've been pulling up the documents, I've been trying to educate people about this agreement. And this agreement is about keeping foreign military out of the Caribbean and Latin America, because every single country that signed on to this deal was at some point, after the abolition of slavery, was at some point occupied. And this is why this agreement is important. And just going back and forth, as I said, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago is a smart, intelligent woman. This is a very accomplished woman. So just to see her saying that the Caribbean and Latin America cannot be a zone of peace because of the local crime that is going on in Trinidad and Tobago is so frustrating. A lot of UNC supporters, they are pushing the same talking points, saying that, look, 600 people got killed in Trinidad and Tobago in 2024. Where is the peace? And even though the document is there, even though the Caribbean and Latin America as a zone of peace document is there, and it clearly, when they met in 1986 at the first time, and the last time they met in 2014, and I stated that the Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, she was the Prime Minister the last time they met, and this document was clearly talking about keeping foreign military out of the Caribbean and nothing to do with local domestic crime. And even though you show the documents, people are still going with the same talking points. And what I came to realize is that a lot of UNC supporters, and I see it happen a lot across the Caribbean, a lot of people support their party over their country. So they're not Trinidadians first, they are either UNC first or PNM first. And the reason why I say that is because I've been communicating with a lot of people that have subscribed to this channel, and we have good communication. And I remember when the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, when it was Stuart Young, and they called the state of emergency late last year, a lot of people that we interact in the comment section, people were complaining about the state of emergency and saying that it is not good, and just a lot of stuff, calling out the Prime Minister at the time about the state of emergency. And some of the same people that I saw in the comment section, you know their names because you communicate with them on a regular basis. Some of those same people I saw in the comment section in 2025 when the new Prime Minister now, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, when she called a state of emergency, and when I did a video and I was talking about it, they were saying, no, the Prime Minister is taking a whole of crime. So it was just a different take. When the PNM did it, something was wrong with it. And when the UNC does it, no, everything is all right. And some of the same people we saw with the Dragon Gas deal when the election campaign and the opposition leader at the time, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, was saying that the PNM put in all their eggs in the dragon basket. And when the Trump administration took away the OFAC license from the PNM government, I saw people celebrating it. And fast forward 2 weeks ago, when the Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, she went to Washington and spoke to Marco Rubio and said that, look, we have some good news. We just received the OFAC license to move forward with the Dragon Gas deal. Those same people they were celebrating it. And I'm like, why are you celebrating? And a lot of excuse. People were like saying like, oh, Dr. Keith Rowley was corrupt and he was giving the Venezuelan government millions of dollars. So we didn't like the deal. So we were happy when the Trump administration took away the OFAC license. But no, we are okay with Kamala Persad-Bissessar getting back that same license, the same OFAC license that we were criticizing. So I've come to realize that a lot of people, they are not Trinidad first. They are talking about their own party. So regardless of what happens, regardless of the bad decision, and most people, even in America, think that the Trump administration building up military assets in the Caribbean Sea and going after Venezuela is a bad idea. Republicans that voted for Donald Trump, over 50% of Republicans do not want any war. They do not want their government to get in another war. And it is so crazy to see that the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, even though Venezuela, before the Prime Minister was sworn in, we have never heard anything between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela. The only thing we spoke about in 2024 was the conflict with the Essequibo region between Venezuela and Guyana. And what is interesting about this conflict between Guyana and Venezuela over the Essequibo region is that, look, this thing has been in court for a while. International court is dealing with it. And we covered it last year when when President Maduro decided that he was going to send a warship into Guyanese water to provoke the Guyanese government. And we saw the Prime Minister at the time in Trinidad and Tobago and the Prime Minister in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We saw Ralph Gonzalez. We saw they activate the Argyle Declaration, the Argyle Agreement, which is something similar to the Zone of Peace that was signed between Guyana and Venezuela. And because of the conflict, they had to meet with the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and they met and they signed the Argyle Declaration that stated that, look, we are going to solve this through diplomacy. We are not going to go into a conflict where we are going to involve weaponry or anything in that. And we saw things calm down after they met, after the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines met with them. We saw things calm down a little bit. So it is just so strange that out of nowhere, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, came out and just said that, look, the Caribbean is not a zone of peace. And she came on one of the statements, a ridiculous statement that came out of her mouth, that they have no intention of attacking Venezuela. When she said that, it was just so laughable. So to see the president of Guyana coming out along with the other members of CARICOM and maintaining that, look, we want the Caribbean and Latin America to maintain a zone of peace, even though President Ali would be the only leader within CARICOM to have a reason to abstain from that vote because of the conflict between them and Venezuela over the Essequibo region. So it is just so confusing that the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago is the only Prime Minister that still want to abstain from the vote and still don't want to make things right with Venezuela. And I've been saying it all along. Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago did not have any bad blood until we saw the Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, was elected. No bad blood between both countries. We know, yes, there's an overrun of Venezuelans in Trinidad and Tobago because Venezuela have been destabilized now going 15 or more years. And that is something that we know. But in terms of government, the relationship between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago is a much longer relationship than the Trinidad government have with America. And I've done a lot of history on the channel, and we spoke about even the Jamaican first black millionaire that he went to Venezuela to make his money back in the days. And we cover a lot of history that a lot of people from the British West Indies, after the abolition of slavery, that they had to go to places like Haiti, Cuba, and Venezuela to get good jobs. And a lot of Trinidadians that I've met so many Trinidadians who have a connection with Venezuela because their great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents went to Venezuela. One of their grandparents are from Venezuela. So the history go way back. And even in recent history, the past 20, 25, 30 years, when we saw Venezuela with the Carib program, where the Caribbean would get like affordable oil or natural gas from Venezuela. And when that was taken away from the Caribbean, we saw food prices skyrocket across the Caribbean. Food prices went up since that time, almost 50% because production got so expensive in the Caribbean. Food production in Jamaica have dropped like drastically since that Petrocaribe program was discontinued. And that was because of Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez wanted to nationalize the oil company, wanted the oil company to be for Venezuelan and for Venezuelans to benefit more from their natural resources. And that was when everything turned left between the Venezuelan government and the American government, because they were good friends, good buddies, up until that time when Hugo Chavez came in. So Venezuela, I'm not going to sit here and say that Hugo Chavez is a good person or picking up for Hugo Chavez, but America maintain great relationship with a lot of countries across the world that women can't vote, women can't drive, that is no democracy. The democracy that they're talking about that they want in Venezuela, a lot of countries, even where Donald Trump got his latest gift from, there's no democracy in a lot of those countries. So for people to just sit here and to say that Donald Trump has the right to invade Venezuela because of illegitimate government or there's a lack of democracy, when the president of America is taking $1 billion plane from a country that has less rights than Venezuela, that is hypocrisy. So guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this one. Are you surprised that the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago is the only leader in CARICOM that abstained from this vote to say that, look, let's keep the Caribbean and Latin America as a zone of peace? So guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.